started since everybody got quiet. I guess that's my cue.
That's your cue to
With
start.
that, everybody, welcome to our board meeting today. Appreciate you guys being here. We got a series of items we got to get through quickly. First is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting on December 16th.
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, very good. On to one of our favorite topics, which is our Kansas City Rose Society and the Rose Garden Restoration Project. We'd love to hear from them, and just want to say that.
Yes, I believe, Sandy, you're going to take the lead on this? Great. Please
great.
come forward and introduce your team.
I will indeed, thank you. We have some illustrations we'd like to put up for you.
Got it. Wow.
Just, no, I'm fine. Yes, thank you. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for us very much. Well, good afternoon, and Happy New Year.
Yes, happy
Same
New
to
Year.
you.
We are happy to be here at the early part of the year, your first meeting, to bring you some very good news. So I'd first of all like to introduce the folks who have come with me. We have members of the Rose Society Board of Directors. We have Martha Lawley and John Riley and Glenn Hodges, and our present president, Joanne Stultz, and Devin Hartnett, who is the artiste here. And we also have our very valued partners here from Bowman and Novick. We have Lori and Scott. Most of all, I wanted to remind you, or for you to recall, that in the year 2000, the Kansas City Rose Society performed an analysis of the Rose Garden and decided that it was in dire straits. So we developed a strategic plan of 10 to 15 years. This is not a Band-Aid. This is a full restoration of a historic garden. And we went back to the architectural plans of Hare and Hare and to study them so that we would follow and really elevate the quality of the garden. At that time, we were also thinking of the fact of the quality of the plantings, of the trees, of the bushes, again, to everything about it to just elevate it somewhat. And we did have the idea of world class in our mind, and so we went on. So this is what you're seeing. This is what $2 million looks like. In the year 2002, of course, the first thing we did was have to raise the money. So we raised $750,000, and that was for the fountain. And my assistant here, Garden Chairman John, is going to show you some of the aspects. The first thing was the fountain, and of course, it's the centerpiece of the garden. And around the fountain, all of the sidewalks were replaced. And the outer granite path was also completely reconstructed. And then we placed benches around the fountain, introduced a new sprinkler system, and on the north portal, we put a new roof because it was near collapse. 2003, we did the entire north garden. That was all the plantings, benches, sod, rose beds, everything in the north garden. Then we rested for about 4 years because we had to raise more money. So the gap was because of fundraising, and in 2008, the big plan went into action again. And the central garden, which is the 4 quadrants in the center of the garden, were totally dug up, new soil put in, metal edging around all of the beds, and they were all realigned because they had all creeped during the years. And we tore out the roses and replanted 1,200 roses. Also in that year, the stone walls on the south end were completely reconstructed and fortified. 2010 came the lighting of the fountain. It had suffered some damage from dogs and people, etc. And so all of that was done, and stonework on all three of the entrances was completely redone. 2012, that is the final phase, and this was $400,000. And the north portal was completely done. And you probably remember a lot of fuss about that one tree that was the beautiful cedar that was for the entire north portal. 66 columns, that is 33 pairs around the entire perimeter of the garden. All of the stone was completely reconstructed and fortified, and the trellis work on the top was replaced. And all of this was done in the year between 2012 and 2014. And finally, the last thing done were the viburnums. In the Hair and Hair plan, they wanted this to be a room. Well, we had a room, but we were minus a quarter. So the viburnums were planted to completely cover that, and they will grow, and then you will feel like you're virtually in a room. And then in November of this year, the bronze plaques that were stolen in the 1940s, stolen and hawked, because bronze in those days would bring a lot of money, were replaced, and they are exactly the plaques that were there in the 40s. So basically, that is the process of the project. The last piece was done in November. Thank you, John. There are thanks to be said. And most of all, I wanted you to know that the best parks director in the country, Anita Gorman, says that, and I believe it. Terry Dobson was the first director that we worked with, and then it was Mark, and several members of council or the commissioner over the years. But we have great thanks for all of you, to you, Mark and Richard, to Judy Penner and her terrific staff in the Rose Garden, for all of their support. You cannot imagine what we put those people through with 14 years of tearing up and tearing down. Also, Bowman and Novick was our contractor, and we are so grateful to them for the quality that they insisted upon for their inspections that were perfect. We are just deeply grateful, and certainly to our architectural stonework, Kip and his group. The craftsmanship is just unbelievable. We ran 4 capital campaigns with enormous support from foundations, from trusts, and from individuals. Some donations were as small as $1. And we could not have done this without the help all through the process of Jonathan Kemper and Mrs. Starr while she was with us. It just wouldn't have happened. For the future, we will continue as stewards of the garden as we have for 84 years. The City of Fountains Foundation holds for us $86,000 in reserve should something happen to the fountain that would need to be corrected. And this year, we, as the Kansas City Rose Society, conducted a very aggressive ad campaign for rose donations for memory and friendship roses. And we have $16,000 to plant replacement roses or new roses in the garden. So I think we're not in any danger there. John, we'll continue to manage all the groomers who show up every Thursday morning to groom the garden to make it look beautiful for the weddings and the weekend. And last year, their giving time was over 600 hours, and that will continue. And finally, this is a big surprise to all of us. In the month of in June, we had a gentleman come from Omaha to attend the Rose Show. And he is a member of the board of directors of the American Rose Society. And he had never been to our garden, and he said, you need to nominate this garden to the World Federation of Rose Societies for an award. and the award is Best Rose Gardens in the World. To our knowledge, there are only 5 or 6 in the United States, and none of them are in the Midwest. Based on his encouragement, we did send our nomination, which was accepted. We qualified on every scale. It has been sent to France, and we will know in May whether or not this garden would become one of the best in the world. So I guess years ago, when we were talking about world-class status, we weren't too far off. It just takes a little longer to get there. So, my last thing to say to you is that whether or not we get the designation or not, we will celebrate. We are planning an enormous celebration on May 31st of 2015 in the Rose Garden. I can't tell you all the secrets, but I think there'll be music and maybe dancing and maybe ballet. It's going to be very, very exciting. And of course, it will be to hopefully say we are one of the best gardens in the world, but also it will be to honor our donors and to thank so many people. And we will, of course, have our rose show and our children's art contest, and you're all invited. And that, my friends, is the end.
Well, thank you very much. I know there's several things our various commissioners want to have an opportunity to say, so I'm going to let them comment, and then I have one thing I'd like to say at the end. So.
Well, I won't accept this being the end. I accept this as being the beginning. You've done a fantastic job. I've been a Kansas City resident my entire life, and some of my earliest memories are coming south of the river and going to Luce Park and marveling as a child at the Rose Garden. And my mother was a big lover of roses and had roses all over our house. So it brings back many good memories, and we're very pleased with this. And I cannot believe we wouldn't get the designation for you. Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you, too. This is tremendous. It's it's so fun to go out there. I grew up, my dad, my grandmother, I guess, were a big lover of roses, too. My dad always has his rose garden and stuff, so I got to learn about black spots and how bad those are and how you can't do anything with them in the Midwest here. Excuse me. And then even going up to, what's the park in Portland, that's just beautiful, going through all that. And took the kids up there this year to look at all that, but I just love going down here and seeing all that. And I was just curious, how many types of roses do you have?
135.
Okay.
There's 3,000 roses in the garden. 135
Different varieties, or okay. My grandma was always Mr. Lincoln, so that's their favorite rose. But, so anyway, but thank you very much.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, it is tremendous, such an asset to the community, and there's always people there enjoying it, so thank you for all your hard work.
And I just want to say, if we need to go to France to advocate, just let us know.
I volunteer.
We have an electric bus. We can drive.
We just have to charge it every
We just try it out a couple miles, but we'll get there eventually, so just let us know. But thank you for all the tremendous work and the partnership. We really appreciate everything you've done, not just for our department, but for the citizens of Kansas City. So thank you all very much. With that, resolution
Good job.
number 30334 regarding Southern Platte County Athletic Association.
Yes, Commissioners, this is an agreement with Southern Platte County Athletic Association doing business as Northland Sports Alliance. In essence, it terminates an existing agreement that started back in 2000 prior to its original termination date of 2029. And then it allows us to enter into a one-year agreement for the operating season of 2015, which then expire on November 15th of 2015. Recommend approval. If you have any questions beyond that, Lana has been handling this for us.
All right. Any questions at this time? Any other comments? Okay, very good. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. Resolution passes. Resolution number 30335.
Yes, Commissioner, this is an Amendment 1 with the City Fountain Foundation to do work at the J.C. Nichols Fountain. The original agreement was brought forward at an earlier meeting, primarily focused on the block fountain, which is indicated in the first paragraph. Back at the December 16th meeting, this would then allow the City of Fountains Foundation, in essence, to operate as our agent to do the major restoration at the J.C. Nichols, which is occurring as we speak. The goal, of course, is to have all this completed by Fountain Day on April 14th, and would recommend approval and stand for questions.
All right, any questions, comments? Glad this is going to get done.
Yep.
Anytime our fountains get improved, it's fantastic, especially the private dollars are going to support it. So with that, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Motion seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Very good. Resolution passes. Resolution number 30336.
Yes, Commissioner, this is a amendment to our contract with Event Energy for race coordination and event coordination throughout the city. You have a memo in your packet from Heidi, and she is here to answer questions. And along with her today, we have Mike Schumacher, representing the city manager's office. And Heidi, you want to give us a little background here and let Mike answer a few questions for us?
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
So as you know, since 2013, we have been contracted with Evergy to handle the permitting of mobile street-based events, which are runs, rides, and walks that take place on our city streets. It's kind of a citywide focus, and they've done a really great job, and it's a really big undertaking. In fact, in 2014, they permitted 72 events, road-based events. So they've done such a fantastic job of collaboration and communication and just streamlining the process that they impressed the city manager's office, who would like to expand their scope this year to take over a review and recommend how to enhance the city's entire outdoor event permitting process. So I'm going to let you talk about it.
You're up, Mike. You almost got out of it, man.
I told you this morning.
Hi, President, members of the Park Commission, Mike Schmidt for the City Manager's Office. Heidi summed it up very well. We really want to build upon the success of both of Energy and Parks and Rec for outdoor events. There was some challenges over the summer with outdoor events where really our public safety network was greatly strained, where we could have multiple events across the city, but there really wasn't one centralized coordination point. And what we found is that both on the medical services side and on the law enforcement side, they didn't have the resources to respond to the normal calls for duty in the multiple outdoor events that were across the city. We dug into that a little deeper and found that there was some room for improvement. My thanks to Heidi and the Parks Director for saying, hey, we have this company, which the city manager has been nothing but impressed with. Why reinvent the wheel for these coordination type functions when we already have somebody on board who can do it? So that's why we're doing that expansion. My thanks to Parks and Rec staff again. It saved the whole conversation a lot of time. This vendor already knows the city, knows our processes. We're just expanding their scope. So with that, any questions?
Makes sense. Any questions, guys?
I just have a comment. I want to speak up from the perspective of someone who hosts an event in this city, and I speak so highly of Denny Chronister and her team over at Evergy and also Shannon Dooley in the Parks Department. They do an excellent job of not just like coordinating as well as making the participants and the race directors really feel as if they can get some things accomplished in a timely fashion. So I fully support their expansion.
Thank you.
Just as an example, what are some of the major events that they would be taking over for the city?
You know, Dave, you always pull me into these that I can end up in.
That's what I
Several
do.
examples that have been brought up, festivals that involve a green island over by England, for example. Our system, the city's system can flow better. And here's an example, and I'm not saying that anyone has done this, and I'm not saying that any organization or that this has occurred. I want to be clear on that. But you could apply to the city through NTDF grant funds, Neighborhood Tourist Development Funds, and you can say that you're going to have 200,000 people attend this event because you want to increase your draw of grant dollars. Then you would go to the fire department and say, well, I'm only going to have 4,000 because I don't want to hire an ambulance. And then you'd go to Parks and Rec and maybe use a different number. And that information doesn't flow as well as it could. Now, a key part of that is that the customer, the people that we want to bring events and come to the city and have a fantastic experience, is also making multiple stops throughout the organization. And that's on both sides. That's on the run side, and that's on the outdoor event side. So they will have one point of contact, consistent information that flows through the city, and then a coordination so we don't have two events at the same intersection at the same time. We're excited about the opportunity. Energy's done a good job already meeting with all the departments. The stakeholders have all met on this topic. It was actually at Parks and Rec with Mr. McHenry's help from all of the impacted departments across the city. And we do expect at the end of this, for the outdoor events, not the runs, that's a separate conversation. Parades, even block parties. Some of our neighborhoods are big enough that if they have a huge block party, if there's 6 of them on the same day at the same time, and there's problems, do we have the emergency personnel to respond to them? If there's something going on downtown within the business district, the college basketball experience, for example. Another challenge that came up is, if you have a concert in town and you say, well, I'm only expecting 2,000 people to attend, and then later we find out that you've already sold 7,000 tickets. How do we hold that vendor when they come back around, that information's tracked and that history's on the table? So the conversation, to be honest, started at the police department level, where they had 3 incidents in 3 different weekends that really created some challenges for them. And they said, hey, we can't have stuff all over the city and not be in the loop and coordinated and make sure that we're staffed appropriately. And so it's a broad-based conversation, if you will.
Fantastic.
So that's,
You
and we're
must be
excited.
inside my head, that's what I wanted to hear.
There you go, you're mind reading now. There
Any
you go.
other
Well
questions?
done. No, any questions, comments, anything? Great, this sounds like a great thing. Hope.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to Parks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
All
Appreciate your
right,
comment.
with that, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, motion is seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good, resolution passes. Resolution number 30337.
Yes, Commissioners, a recommendation for a bid award for citywide park and play improvements through 2015. You have a memo from Travis with a recommendation of the bid award to National Streetscape. If you have any questions, Travis is here to answer those.
Any questions to Travis in regards to this recommendation and resolution? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good, resolution passes. Resolution number 30338.
Yes, Commissioners, change order for Blue Moon Hauling for a project they have under contract, Little Blue Valley Park and Garney Park. Change order extending the time until 29 May of 2015. Again, if you have any questions, Travis is here to answer those, or maybe it's Richard now. Yeah. Put Richard on
I've got to
the...
go to another meeting.
Okay, let's go with Richard then.
Well, well, in that case, let's have all kinds of questions in for it.
Why it done?
Are there any questions? No, in that case, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good, resolution passes. Resolution number 30339, the approval of gifts and contributions.
Yes, Commissioners, total of 6 gifts, recommend approval.
Excellent. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve? To accept gifts? All right, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you. Fair enough. On to the director's report.
Yes, first item, major construction. Richard?
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Afternoon, sir.
What we have in front of us is a package showing a couple completed projects. The first one is the Minor Park shelter improvements at the tennis courts. This is a neat project, but the first map is the location map. It's located off of Blue River Road, just south of Red Bridge Road. The first picture at the bottom of the page shows existing conditions, what it used to look like. This tennis court area is kind of transformed over the years, and so it's being used heavily now. So the next page shows we added 2 20 by 30 shelters. And the picture on the bottom of that page shows the shelter under construction. On the next page shows some of the improvements, 2 20 by 30 shelters, 4 landscape planters that you can sit on, picnic tables, colored concrete. The asphalt was, a slurry sill was put over the top of that, so the improvements are very nice. And Steve Cooper has been a person that we've been working with in the public, and he's done very well in putting in PIAC applications, getting the funding, and so this is a good project. Moving on to later in this package, it's a diagram, and this is a new shelter up at Tiffany Hills Park. Tiffany Hills Park is located at Tiffany Springs Road in North Congress. The bottom picture shows a retaining wall and then the grading of the shelter pad. The last page shows the shelter in construction, shows the framing for the shelter, and then the bottom of that page shows a completed shelter. This shelter will be used for staging, for tournaments, and it'll be well used. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Heidi, marketing report, please.
Hello again. Thankfully, at this time of the year, we have a lot of office inside work that we're working on. A couple of the big things, of course, are getting all the end-of-the-year numbers and stories and information together to do our 2014 year in review, which will go to the printer here next month. And then, of course, working with the Community Services Division and all the other divisions to put together the information for the 2015 Spring and Summer Activities Guides, which will be here before we know it. We are also doing a fun little partnership with the Rose Society on a Valentine's Day poetry contest for kids. So if your children feel like writing a poem that has to use the word rose once in it, you can go ahead and enter. I don't know if you'll win. That might be conflict of interest. But it'd be fun to try. Of course, working on finalizing the new ordinance with the new race fees that will be implemented in 2016, but is going to council hopefully in the next month or so to get that finalized. And then also working on the Parks User Survey, which will go out later this month. So we can find out what our users actually think of us in comparison to just the basic residents customer service survey that goes out. This Friday, we are going to have a booth at the Downtown Council Luncheon. So if any of you are going to be there, stop by and pick up some information and some swag from Kansas City Parks. And then I did mention we are doing a lot of inside, but since we have all that cold weather gear, we opted to do an outside walk in partnership with the Heartland Conservation Alliance on Martin Luther King Day. And that will begin at Bruce R. Watkins, and then it will walk down the Brush Creek Trails and finish at MLK Square Park. And it's about a mile, and we'll be serving hot chocolate and warming up there, and then shuttling back, so you can only have to walk one way. But we thought that was a good way to reflect upon the day. And that will begin at 1 o'clock on January the 19th. And then it goes on from there.
Yeah. A lot of stuff happens in between them.
Right.
There you go.
So,
Great. Any questions, comments?
okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see, anything on the public hearing? Nobody signed up. We want to look at the calendar really quick.
Yeah, just quickly, of course, we're into the new year, in the month of January. Next board meeting is back here on the 20th. And as, of course, Heidi mentioned, Martin Luther King Jr. holiday is on the 19th, so office closed that day. And then we've got a couple partner meetings, one on the 14th. Platte County Parks Partners kicking back up again in January. And then the Starlight Board meeting on the 15th, that's Thursday morning. And then just quickly looking at the month of February, schedule-wise, we're looking at that one meeting on the 10th. February, followed by a meeting of the Kansas City Museum Foundation. Is that correct, Anna Marie? And so Anne Marie will be sharing information between now and then to kind of set the agenda for that meeting. So we'll do that. We say 3 o'clock, basically after this meeting is what that'll be.
Okay, great. I think that's it. You wanted to
Yep.
take us
I'd
out?
like to make a motion that the board enter into closed session to discuss legal, real estate, or personnel issues pursuant to revised statute 610.021.
Very good. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded, okay. One by one, if you can have your vote. And Commissioner
Aye.
Donnell? Judy?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, no, and the board chair votes aye, so. With that, we are now into a closed session.